Welcome to the Vision Gap Show. Align your big idea and vision with a plan of action to resonate and stand out in your market. With your hosts, Andy Halko and Tony Zayas.
All right, welcome everybody. We're here today, this week, to talk about core values. We're going to pull together some of the things that we've already addressed over the last few weeks, talking about brand strategy. I think it's important to understand how all this stuff comes together. So Andy, I will throw out to you a question. You got a client that pushes back on the idea of defining their core values, or just thinks, yeah, let's use whatever and just put some fluff in there. What is the response to that? How do you pitch to them the importance of truly diving in and defining core values that actually represent your company?
Yeah, I actually, over the years, have really found my evolution of how important I think core values are to just keep growing, right? It's such a central piece. And I always I talk about vanity values. A lot of companies will create values that are a vanity, that a great example is I had a company that, serve your community was a core value. But if you went into the organization, they didn't spend any time serving their community or talking about that. And so where you see the rubber hits the road is that if you're putting out to the world that our core values serve the community, and you're attracting employees and bringing them in, and that is something that is one of their core values. They see it and they say, this aligns with me as a person. You're bringing someone in the organization that is a mismatch, right? And that's really the idea of core values, is developing a set of ethos that is an understanding of this is who we are as people. It's kind of the underlying layer to every decision that's made, is that, your core values define your thought process and approach. And so having those great core values is that start to, one, finding people that really align with who you are, that when they do come into the organization, their instinctual responses will match with what you want to accomplish. And that as you continue to evolve as an organization, that those are something that go back and bring that like general direction and alignment of the team. And so I really do think that if you don't spend your time creating really great core values, you can really bring on the wrong folks that are headed in the wrong direction and create a lot of chaos constantly. And that turns into a lot of problems and pains, but yeah, that's kind of the foundation of it.
Yeah, and that internal piece totally makes sense. I get it. I think the other side of this is that your core values have to be congruent with the things we're going to get to in the coming weeks, talking about, positioning, messaging, all of that. Those have to be congruent and match and fit. You can't have conflict in that. And so real important stuff that we're talking about.
Yeah, and I think, today a lot of consumers want to, my menagerie of dogs is barking. Consumers want to buy from companies that they feel aligned to. And so I think there is something to those core values being part of marketing. Again, I don't think you want to create core values for marketing. You want to create them for your people and organization. But I do also think the outside world sees it as important to aligning to those. So
yeah, that's great. Do we want to jump in and show how we do our core value planning?
And I know you talk about all the time, and I'd love to hear you talk about it, because it's something I know I hear you explain to folks, but like, even coming here, the how the core values that we have align, and 100%. I think that's important for us to talk about as well.
100%, yeah. So to go back and tell the story, when I first came on at Incivia, I looked you guys up. I looked at the website, learn. And one of the things that was prominent on the about page were the core values. Think smart, act bold, drive harder, open yourself, be passionate. Always innovate, right? So those really resonated with me. And I thought, like, this is really cool. So those like personally were things that I thought, this is awesome. If this company embodies this, then yes, like this is the type of people I want to be around. And so, yeah, for sure. And so that drew me initially to Insivia. And, had the company not lived those values, that could have been messy, right? So, and I've seen that in other places as well.
And I think that leads us into what we're going to be showing with Frictionless. But, it took me years to really find those core values and a process of really thinking through and how do you break it down. And so not only did it take me a while to do it for myself, and then when I started going into other organizations and helping them think about it, and me, I really like to figure out like process and how do you do it. And I had come up with a very specific process of asking specific questions, eliminating certain information from those questions, prioritizing other information, summarizing it, grouping it, and then coming out with, after these exercises, just core values that did end up aligning really well to the organization. And they were not vanity values. They were values that brought on the right folks. And so it took me years to come up with kind of this methodology, not only after I did it for myself, but then running through and trying to do it for a number of organizations and helping them figure out core values.
Yeah. Powerful process. So we'll bring this up on the screen here.
Yeah. And so in Frictionless, like with many things, core values, what you stand for, is one of the key features under strategy before we even define our vision or our offerings or look at our target audience. Core values is one of those starting places, right? And you can see some of ours are in here of Think Smart, but it's really about the workshop. And so, there's a couple curated questions that you as a team can answer. And two of the big ones that I use on a regular basis that are part of this workshop are most valuable player. Who is that person on your team that is most likely to take you to success, and what are their traits and values, right? As well as team member requisites, what is something in your other team members that you would not be able to work with them, or it is a must-have, right? And so those are two of several questions that are extremely foundational to developing core values. And then the magic is kind of underneath the hood of how do you then synthesize that information into core values that really match. And so the process with Frictionless that we have is that we have several folks that can come in here throughout your team and answer these questions. And then it's the underlying methodology that we've developed that kind of breaks that down. You can see based off of a couple of the answers here, we innovate daily, embracing a culture of innovation, creativity. We pursue excellence. We collaborate tirelessly. We act with integrity, and so again, by having the right questions and then that the right underlying framework that, I've trained the system to take those answers and break it apart and run through what I used to when I worked with companies, you can really produce these core values that, again, if I'm out looking for employees, I want people that innovate daily, that pursue excellence, that collaborate tirelessly. Those are the type of people I want inside my organization, and I want them to align. And I know if they do that, if they innovate daily, they pursue excellence, they collaborate tirelessly, I know that they are going to be successful for my organization and the types of clients that I have, et cetera. And so you can see how if you go through this process, even in a couple of minutes, you can really produce some core values that ensure you're bringing on the right folks and having them aligned in the right direction.
So in the workshop process, that is collaborative, so it allows team members to be part of this exercise. Who would you recommend be involved if a company's thinking about doing this type of exercise?
It's always a hard question, right? And I think leadership, obviously, and founders are the core. And that's where it starts. In smaller organizations, obviously, the founder may be the only one. As you get larger, you may bring in other folks, especially those people that maybe embody that MVP, that most valuable player, a little bit, of folks that are, do already embody, even if you don't have it articulated in well-defined core values, you can know that person fits with the ethos of who your company is. The other great thing with a tool like Frictionless is you could start this process with your first 5, your founder and your 2 leaders, run through the process, use the AI for that underlining output, then invite more collaborators in to expand on the answers, run it through the AI and the foundational structure to see how well it matches up, right? And you may find that hopefully it's very well aligned and not much changes. Or if it does, maybe it's for the better and you kind of get exposed to these things that are outside the leadership team. So I think there's a unique opportunity that, even a tool like this, that you're not just doing it once, and because it can be so quick, it can happen in minutes, that you have the ability to iterate on it and kind of see and compare, right?
Yeah. They've been thinking like the workshopping with team members could be a way to determine how well they fit the organization, right? Because if they're talking about things to them that are core values that are incongruent with, what's established, just interesting, but it's a great exercise, and this allows you to do it so quickly and cleanly and concisely. It's what's awesome about it.
Yeah, and I think, again, we started this all off of how important core values are to an organization. And so the ability whether you're a startup and you're just trying to figure it out, or you're a more established business, but we've never taken core values seriously before, but we're looking to continue to hire and we want to make sure we're bringing on the right people, talk about, again, the ability that instead of going out and having a month-long process and et cetera, that you could leverage a proven framework and just come in and walk through that process. And I think, that really allows people to move fast, make quick decisions, and make improvements to their business within an extremely short period of time.
It's fantastic. All right, guys. So core values, super important stuff. Hopefully giving you some ideas to walk through and establish those. And we encourage you to check Frictionless out, frictionlesshq.com, and try it out for free. We will see you next time. We're going to talk about vision. We're going to dive in and go in on a super important topic and discuss that a little bit. So we will see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.
Thanks.
This episode of the Vision Gap Show has been brought to you by Frictionless. Build high-impact strategy at scale. Create your vision, brand position, and go-to-market strategy, all in a collaborative AI-enabled workspace. Visit frictionlesshq.com to create your free account today.